Modern law, and business stronger. Father-in-law, all I'm fine.
Hello again. This is Bunton Cole with A Vision for Africa. This account of the history of Africa is based on the BBC 4 series of programs, Africa's Great Civilization, compiled and presented by Professor Henry Louis Gates, Jr. In the last episode, I talked about the great cities and trade in Africa between AD 1100 and AD 1600 before colonization. In this episode 7, I'll talk about the Atlantic Age of Africa. Many people of color tend to view the Atlantic slave trade and resulting enslavement of Africans with emotions and resentment against the white slavers and slave masters. They tend to point the proverbial accusing finger of blame on those who shipped our ancestors, enslaved and brutalized them for 4 centuries. That's natural, but we need to know the facts before we accuse anyone or any nation. The big questions are, how did it all start? What caused it? Who are to blame? By that I mean the great slave trade. Books written about slavery are by white American and English authors who tend to deal with the subject casually. Even novels tend to look at the economic costs from the slave owner's point of view. It wasn't until I watched Professor Gates Jr.'s documentary, Africa's Great Civilization, that I began to find answers to the following questions. What caused the great slavery in Africa? Who were responsible? How did it affect the African continent's great civilization of the past? How can Africa ever recover from the effects of the great slave experience? The following accounts that throw light on the dark period of our history will tell us that. Africa experienced significant economic, religious, and cultural changes between the 15th and the 19th centuries during the height of her civilization. 3 African kingdoms were directly connected to the royal courts of Europe and even the Vatican. Europe's exploration of the Americas and Africa caused the most profound impact on Africa, from which 12.5 million Africans were exported to the Americas in trade. Mbanta Congo was one of the most powerful and highly stratified states, covering 50,000 square miles. The most striking structure of the city was the Cathedral of San Salvador, which was built in 1549. The then King Alvaro II adopted Catholicism in 1491, changed the religion of the people of Congo, and also elevated Congo into the heart of the European power. King Alvaro II was even welcomed into the religious education at the beginning of the 17th century by Christian Europe countries like France, England, China, and Japan. Mbanta Congo's Alvaro II even sent his own ambassador to the royal court of Lisbon in 1691. The 15th century was the age of exploration when European explorers understood the currents of the Atlantic Ocean. The Portuguese arrived at the mouth of the Congo River in 1481 in what is today's Angola. The explorer Diego Cabral was on a mission commissioned by the King of Portugal to seek out new lands, luxury goods, and powerful allies. He was welcomed by the king who, as a mark of acknowledgement, erected a limestone pillar that is still in Angola today. The Portuguese arrived with silk and gold fabric, which they hoped to exchange with silver and gold with African kingdoms, and also engaged in cultural interchanges as well. The king, Zonga Ngoro, graciously received Cabral, the Portuguese explorer. By 1891, Congo became a Catholic territory, which was in answer to the agenda of the Portuguese 3 Gs of God, Gold, and Glory. Nzinga Nguri, son of Alfonso, who succeeded him, also embraced Catholicism, and this deepened the Portuguese hold on the religion in Congo. Alfonso, who was a devout Catholic, deepened the faith and established schools and religious culture in the region. Mbanta Congo opened the doors of Catholicism to Africa in the 16th century. While the African cities and kings welcomed religion, education, and commerce with the outside world, the Portuguese were interested in wealth, conquest, colonialism, and human trade. Alfonso was interested in raising the status and quality of education and life in his country for his people through his religious faith, but the Portuguese had their own hidden agenda. He successfully achieved Christianity and education and gained the recognition of Europe, while he also integrated the new religion of Catholicism with the African spirituality through African crafts that depicted Christian images. Alfonso's son, Enrique, was educated in Portugal and appointed as bishop by the Pope Giovanni de' Medici, Pope Leo XI, in 1518. Congo gained Nubia as the home of the African bishop. Economic alliance between Congo, the Vatican, and Portugal was flourishing. Sugar was the most significant commodity that was sought after in Europe, which raised the price of sugarcane high to come in line with the exotic spices. The demand of sugar and Portugal's demand for cane sugar from Africa made them the world's largest producers of sugar by the middle of the 16th century. The Portuguese had also realized that the tropical islands were most suited for the growing of sugarcane. However, it was back-breaking work that was very labor-intensive. The solution was to use cheap labor from Africa in the form of black African slaves who became the dominant labor force. The wealth generated from the sugar trade and demand for slave labor motivated African kings to wage wars against weaker cities to enslave their young fighters and use them in the sugarcane production. Congo exported goods like ivory, spice, and gold, but the most profitable commodity was slaves. This gave rise to frequent wars among the African countries and the destabilization of the West and Central regions of Africa. Food for thought. Most times, Africans and descendants of slaves all over the world blame the white slavers and producers of sugar for the economic, social costs of the great slave trade to Africa. But are they solely responsible? I'll play you a track from my collection of music, Mellow Moods, to relax, bring your temperature down while you think about my food for thought. Enjoy Mellow Moods. much love. I just can't imagine living without them. So, fathers of the world, your children need you. Don't give up. Heal them with your love. I say, love them, fathers. They need you so much. I know you're hurting mothers, 'cause you've been through so much. Think about your children and don't let it put you down. Love them, mama. Don't lose your way. Fathers, brothers, stay in their lives, 'cause they need you. They want you. They love you, brothers. Without you in their lives, they've got no one to turn to. Without you in their lives, they've got no one to turn to. No security to protect them. No light in their lives, I say. Come to your girls. Fathers, brothers, I said listen. Care for your boys, 'cause they need you so much. Without you, they're lost. Love them. I hope you really enjoyed that. I'll leave you with these thoughts today. Who can you blame? Can you blame the white European slavers for the slavery of Africans in the sugar plantations? Can you blame the Portuguese and white slavers for the enslavement of Africans in the sugar plantains in the Americas only? I'll leave you with that. Meanwhile, until next week, I'll leave these words by the great philosopher Desiderata with you. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickeries. But do not let this blind you to what virtue there is. Until next week, stay blessed.
Modern law and business stronger. Father-in-law,